lifetime. That's really being focused on.
And so, how do past lives show in a birth chart? Like how does that tend to present? How do you pick up on that kind of information?
Well, you definitely look at the nodes. One of the biggest things that really comes through is called the intercepted sign. Now, if there's no intercepted sign, you can still figure it out based on the challenges of the negative aspects in the chart. So you can devise you can understand what the person did, what mistakes they made in the past. I almost don't want to say mistakes because the soul is really here to learn experiences. We choose what we come in to do. And whenever I ask the soul about it, there's always a compassionate view to a negative situation that they take. There's multiple levels of interpretation when you're working with multidimensional. We're multidimensional beings, so it's really hard when you see something negative in a chart and you're just like, oh man, I'm just a bad person, I'm just bad. I did so many bad things, and man, when you first start getting into astrology, that is really the mindset of a sensitive person who's seeking to evolve themselves. Is like you look at this, and what you have is maybe a ton of trauma in your life or a ton of pain in your life, and you're looking at the chart and you're like, man, I suck. I'm not going to get anywhere. This is too much. You know what I mean? So it can be daunting for an early astrologer to start to look at that stuff in light of their own experiences. It's a big deal. It's a huge responsibility.
Right.
So, but the way to see is to search for the synergistic aspects. You got to look at the chart as a whole, and try to. I always try to look at. I just keep looking at all the aspects and adding up what I see, and to see how many times you get a repeated message. Once you start to see that, it starts to form a whole concept of who this person is as a soul, and what their purpose is, and what they are going to be accomplishing in the life, and that will automatically show the past lives. It's an intuitive thing, but
yes.
When you start to look into the patterns and see it as you see the psychological defects there. You can almost see where they came from, based on the astrology. I mean, it's a little hard to explain, but there are some aspects too, like the fourth house will show the roots of the person, show really where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
I know that different signs show the different countries and nations where the rulership of that. For instance, Sagittarius at the bottom is the Far East, so there'd be a lot of that person would really have a lot of emphasis in the Far East, China, and Asia.
Okay.
And then as you keep going through the chart, you can find out the different aspects.
So how do you typically convey this information to a friend, a client, whoever you're doing the reading for? Are you conversing with them, or do you write it as a report? Like, is it kind of a back and forth? How does that work best?
Well, I've done it both ways, actually. I prefer to write it out for clarity. I'm not so good verbal. I'm not so good with verbal, communication. I tend to be better as a writer, but yeah. But it can be done both ways.
Sure.
How long does it take you to do a chart on a person?
Different charts take different amounts of time, actually, because if I see stuff that I just cannot relate to, or don't have full information on, like different aspects, it can take me a number of hours to do a chart, or I can really get one within like half an hour.
And do some people have a lot of planets like kind of clustered in certain houses, or is it all over the map? Do people tend to have like a couple planets in all different, or do you just see all different patterns in that? Like, they can be grouped all different ways.
Yeah, they really can be grouped all different ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Personality aspects are obviously each sign has a different dominant. What are some of the things that you could tell us about the different signs?
Oh, like Aries?
Uh-huh.
Well, Mars is the rulership of Aries, and it's a sign of courage, independence, willpower, war, physicality, and sexuality. It's the first sign in the zodiac, so it would have to do with the person's identity. It would be a strong drive to create an identity, and use impulse to overcome karma, or to use restraint of impulse to overcome karma.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, along with dreams, we can definitely use our astrological sign as a means of solving and resolving, not only past trauma, but karma and this type of thing. This is very, very fascinating.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing to see the dreams in light of the astrological transits that occur in the heavens and that occur based off of someone's chart. And just to see that really these dreams are being created by the relatedness of the planets. Because the planets are just vibrations. They're just vibrating all at different rates, and when they strike, when they turn, they're forming angles and different connections based on the angle, and that just turns the frequency in a different way, and then that strikes the nervous system while we're sleeping, and that in turn gives the imagery to the brain. So it's this electromagnetic thing that's occurring in our bodies. It's sparking off imagery. And then the imagery comes out as archetypal symbols that you see and then have to decode. And then once they're decoded, it releases the tension that you have. Like, if you wake up from a dream, and most people don't know what the heck is going on. Because it's just like, all this crazy stuff happens. But when you start to make sense of your dreams, the nervous system can calm down and relax. And in fact, you can open up. It's a way to open up the doors to psychic perception as well, by understanding these symbols and decoding them as they come through the consciousness. So it can be a very beneficial practice.
Joel, I understand that some people even gain somewhat conscious control over their dreams, something called lucid dreaming. Could you tell us a little about that?
I cannot, only that I've had one or two lucid dreams where I wasn't really in control, but they were fantastic, I have to say, and even astral travel as well. But I cannot control a dream, so I wouldn't know how to do that. I think it's a fascinating concept, though. I would like to be able to do it someday myself.
Tell us a little about astral journeys, about astral travel.
Well, I can't consciously do that either. But I did have a couple of dreams where I did travel to another location, and I met a person there, I could not believe. Couldn't believe it. And then 2 weeks later, I met the person in real time. I met the person actually online, but it was a profound experience. And then we actually had a profound experience together for quite some time after that. Yeah.
Oh, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I think the person was my twin flame, but that
oh my,
that can be challenged.
Do you think that there's? I do consciously astral travel, and
Amazing.
I don't recall very many of my dreams at all, and I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe I don't need them, or there's a reason I'm not remembering them. And someone made an interesting comment to me. Well, if you're traveling that much, you're not dreaming because you're out traveling. So therefore, you're not going to remember them because you're doing something else.
Right. I mean, are you consciously traveling in your sleep?
I'm aware of it sometimes. I mean, sometimes I'll literally, set my intent, like during meditation or when I'm falling asleep, that I know I want to do X, Y, Z, or need to take care of something, and I'll go there, and I'll feel myself leaving my body. I'll put in protection and then leave and go conduct my business, do what I need to do. And then other times I'm just going to sleep like everyone else. Just need to get a good night's sleep, but I'll wake up and I'll have memories, or I'll have other people tell me, "Oh gosh, saw you in so and so last night," and it's some pretty out there places. So, and sometimes it'll spark a memory, and other times it's like, okay, I have zero recollection of that.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
It is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You enjoy your travels, don't you?
Oh, definitely. Once I got comfortable with it, I was pretty uncomfortable with it at first. I tried to stop it from happening because it felt very, very perturbing, very, very out there. Is this safe? What's going on? Why is this occurring? I don't know if you have a belief or any information, anybody on Joel, anybody, Rich, anybody on the call about whether we truly all do travel, astral travel, when we're sleeping or when we're meditating. I realize we're not always conscious of it, but are we perhaps all doing that regularly all the time and just don't know it?
I would suspect that's the case. I would think that it would be an instinctive, innate trait that all sentient, conscious beings have, but that's just my speculation. Somebody else might be able to weigh in, with more information.
Yeah, I think it is too. I mean, when I slip into daydreaming, I can pretty much. I mean, sometimes I'm just getting psychic downloads of information, or I'm connecting with somebody. But usually, when I do connect with somebody, I trust the connection. I trust that what's happening there is valid, and and that they're either thinking of me, or we're having some sort of meeting of the minds or something. So I would say yeah. I say we're multidimensional beings, and we're just not fully conscious yet. Well, some of us are breaking the ground of that.
Of getting more comfortable with conscious telepathy, like we communicate when we're not incarnated. That concept.
Yes.
Say, I noticed something that in earlier years I dreamed a lot, almost every night. But I noticed as I have aged that I very rarely dream anymore. So do you think that we don't dream as much as we age?
I don't know. It depends. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Diet does play a role. Nutrition, and when the body's well rested and has the nutrition, there seems to be a link between things that cross the blood-brain barrier and the ability to dream. And when the nervous system is calm, it seems to be dreams can come forward that much easier.
Let's see.
Joel, what are some of the advantages to keeping a dream diary? I know that there are people, for example, who will wake up right after a dream and write it down, and many people urge that and say that's a very good technique. Can you tell us a little about that?
I think it would be a great thing to do. My method of dream interpretation is really just to nail that dream and create resonance in the body right after the dream. So, at some point during that day, I want to be able to know what that dream meant and create a healing response in the body where I'm resonating with the dream and I've got its meaning. That tends to, and then I just sort of let it go. But I think the dream diary thing can actually show a lot of other things, like, geez, I dreamt this then, and this came true. This came true there. Especially if you know the astrology, it can be really fascinating to see how things are manifesting and when they started, and things like that. But so yeah, I mean, I don't know the other benefits so much as dream diary as to what a dream diary would do, but I think it's a beneficial practice. I think it would be.
Joel, what exactly is a nightmare, and why do some people sometimes have nightmares?
Well, I think a nightmare is when the unconscious mind overwhelms the conscious mind with too much negative information. In other words, if there was a trauma in the past, or if there's an entity that's crossing into the energy field, the person is going to be overwhelmed by that, and too many negative emotions crowding in all at once, blasting through the conscious mind. I just had a nightmare the other day, and it's taken me, or the other week, it's taken me quite a while to calm down from. I see it as repressed trauma coming forward from this life and other lives.
Wow. And I guess all of us at one time or another are going to experience vignettes from our past lives in our dreams. Gwen,
right.
Has that happened with you before, Gwen?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't know, Joel, if you have comments to help people recognize, because I think sometimes they don't trust it, because if they're newer to working with past lives, they're thinking that they're making it all up or just being fanciful. So to me, it seems like if you've got this really strong emotion around it, and or if it's a recurrent dream, or if it's one that you just really are trying to process and talk to people about and trying to understand, that to me indicates it's very likely a past life. Does that make sense to you?
Yes and no. I mean, I have a lot of trauma from this life, so I don't tend to have the past life dreams so much. So there seems to be a barrier for me getting information
because you're
visually.
Processing now, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the trauma that's occurred to me in this life is a direct result of what happened in other lives too. So, it sort of acts all on a continuum.